hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Goodness gracious. The weeks just fly by. All right, double checking mic. Yep, camera looks good. Awesome. Well, welcome to UI Wednesdays. My name is Alyssa Nicoll. I am the Angular developer advocate for Kendo UI at Progress. And Wednesdays, I like to hop on, talk about UI problems, do a bit of CSS, work through some challenges, etc., etc. So, welcome to the show. I recently discovered this week that OpenType, different, I don't know, I used to think OpenType, okay, OTF is surely what that's talking about. But recently I ran across a font because I was working on the Tour of Heroes app and I wanted to update the fonts. And my husband ran across this one called Bratzi, which we'll look into today. But it was brought to my attention that there are a ton of different ligatures and let's see, characters. I'm not sure all of the terminology for them, but basically there's a ton of different options. And you can alter your font using CSS, which I had no idea was even a capability. I love it whenever you think that you have learned, not mastered, but maybe learned all there is to know about something. And then you find out that that's totally not true at all. So if you're like me and did not know it was even possible, buckle in. And I'm actually going to the best resource because it took a bunch of searching and finding really, really bad resources before I actually ran across one that was like, okay, this one works. So here, here's the link to an Adobe doc list of basically things that you can modify fonts with. So let's just dive into it, shall we? Also, it is my lunchtime. I've been doing intermittent fasting. Woof. And so now it's 2 p.m., time for me to eat. So I'm starting the day off with a very tasty looking protein shake with banana and chocolate protein powder. So some almond milk. So if you see me slurping, that's what's going on. Okay, let's share our screen. Doodle-doo-doo-doo. We're just going to share my entire screen. And we're going to go ahead and pull up Bratzi. So this was the font that made me think there are more possibilities to CSS than I currently know. So I was playing around with it and actually doing some layering, as they suggest here. I'll make this a bit bigger. So yes, I was doing some layering with the different script outline and extrude versions of the font in CSS, as you'll see soon. I think, do I have the server spun up? I do. So I need to change the colors so that it's more legible. But essentially, I was playing around with before and after elements to layer these different, the different versions. And so I love this. Turtle Guy helped me come up with this solution. So anyways, playing around with that, and that's when I ran into this slide, which talks about OpenType features. And I was like, that's a thing. And it looks like I haven't learned everything, obviously, about OpenType features, just discovered this week. But it looks like in the image, it's like r.salt. To me, that's like class of salt or class of swash or class of SSO3. And all of this was complete gibberish to me before finding this Adobe docs. But essentially what I did was I was like, salt, okay, Apparently that stands for stylistic alternates. And if you go down on the documentation that I linked to and check it out, you can set font feature settings to a string of salt, which was like, okay, seriously, what? Like, this is actually a thing with fonts that support it. So I just went to my H1 real quick, added font feature settings of salt. And so we can actually toggle this on and off, and you can see the T getting the swash, the R, the H, and the R again. And I think those are the only things changing maybe on this set of words. But if I scroll down to the actual text of Bratzi, you'll see again as I toggle it on and off, the B, the R, the A, and the T are all getting adjustments, which is insane to me. Double checking that I'm still live. So, it's worse when you like, it's the worst whenever you're like, oh yeah, I'm totally live and talking, and then you're totally not. So, but no issues with Twitch today, right? Knock on wood. So anyways, this was a huge revelation to me. So let's go ahead. I actually need to double check and make sure. That's what I thought. If we refresh, we won't see anything because my server is not running. And as you can see, I have quite a few uncommitted changes, but this was just me cleaning up the header font, and I'm not quite to a happy spot with it yet, so I'm not going to commit. But I wanted to go back to talking about the OpenType font. So in Fontbook, which is where I usually like download and preview fonts and manage them, and also disable them because they can be pretty chunky and heavy for the system. As a UI person, I tend to collect fonts like a greedy person, and I found out a while ago that that can be a bit chuggy on your machine. And so if you didn't know this, you can actually go in and right click and disable fonts, which is it's handy to not have them all loaded all the time. Especially since there's no way you're using thousands and thousands of them. And so I'm used to viewing things like this where it's, the extrude, the outline, the regular version. Also, who spells regular like that? That's like regular. Is that how you normally spell it? I feel like there's an A in regular. Anyways, so this is how I usually see the font. But of course, I'm not seeing any of the special, like, crazy low-hanging swashes or things. And so I was digging into it. I was like, maybe I need a different application in order to view these things. And it looks like you can say underneath View in Fontbook, you can look at Repertoire. And then you can change the font size. So I'll bump this up to massive. But then it looks like this is going to give us all of the glyphs, ligatures, alternate versions, like that B that we saw. So I'm like, wow, it's kind of a bit overwhelming looking at it because there's so many options. I think, I mean, especially with, if we go back to the boop, 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 boop. If we go back to the Bratzi page on Creative Market, as I was looking at SSO3, which I came to learn, I think, is standing for the different like stylistic sets here. And I can bump up this font if that's not legible, but it stands for the different stylistic sets 1 through 20. Again, with the overwhelming part. The thought that there could be like 20 different T's, for instance, in a font that you just don't know about. That's a lot, right? And so I haven't really quite got to the point where I know how I'm even going to tackle this. But I do know in my Tour of Heroes app, I want to use it for my headers. So this is my H1 and this is my H2. And let me go ahead and pull up my VS Code and show you what I'm doing. So super fancy bit that Turtle Guy helped me work out is we are, let me pull up. So in the app component, for instance, where I have the Tour of Heroes H1, I went ahead and added a data dash text of Tour of Heroes equal to the header. And inside of the style sheet, what we're doing is instead of calling out like the header specifically to give it this special font, we are saying anything with data dash text. And these are the styles that we want to do to it. So we are giving the font feature settings of Salt, which I can go ahead and comment that out right now. But mainly, we're taking the befores and afters and we're assigning Pony outline, Pony extrude, and then to the main thing itself with data text, we need to assign font family of Pony. And so I'm actually going to move, I'm going to move all of this off of the H1 and the H2 and move it over here. I think I can take that off like that. I think that's what I want to do because I do plan on giving all of my H1s, H2s, and maybe even other specific text this data dash text special effect, which maybe I should have named it like data dash fancy font or something, TBD. But let's check out our made those changes. Okay, so I have to change the color. Since last you saw me, I created a colors.scss file and a fonts.scss file. And inside of each, as you can imagine, oh, yeah. Hey, we're in SCSS now using Sass. I have different font faces that I'm declaring. Banana and chocolate. And each one of these, I named Pony Outline, and Pony Extrude, but it's pointing to the source of the Bratzy script that I showed earlier on the Creative Market website, Bratzy Outline and Bratzy Extrude. And I had to do a bit of searching because the last font face tree that I saw was a bit more in depth. But apparently, if you don't want to or don't need to support really, 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 really old browsers that we won't name, if you don't care about those, then your backup, so the WOFF2 WOFF is going to be your primary one with your fallback of just WOFF. And this one, the WOFF2, is created by Google, I believe, and it's smaller and honestly like the best version of a font that you can have right now. And then, of course, this is just a will work fallback. And so that's what I have for each one of these. And then inside of my style sheet at the very top, I have imported the fonts and the colors. And I started using the font family, the name that I gave it, Pony, and the colors. These are all hard-coded because I couldn't decide what colors to use. But we can go ahead and replace them with, instead of this color, we're going to replace it with the variable. I think I have like a dark blue. And then let's replace This one, I'm not getting rid of them just yet because I really love this like layered look of like the white to blue that I have. But because it kind of matches this aesthetic of like My Little Pony, very light, airy, like cloud sky. However, it's completely like illegible. Like it's not working. So I'm gonna leave them there for right now as a muse, but below I'm gonna put in colors that I think we'll be able to actually see, which could be crazy helpful. Let's do, I think I have dark pink as well. Maybe. Let's check out my colors. Yeah, I've got dark pink, hot pink, dark blue, blue, light blue. I'm not sure. I know this is it's not going to look as delicious as it was looking before. Hopefully we'll just be able to read something. So actually on the dark pink, we might be able to get away with FB, 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 which I think is, I was going to say, I think is our background, but if I color pick it, it might be F2 actually. Or F7. Okay. Refresh. I mean, it's much more legible. The primary reason that I even started looking into glyphs and ligatures and swashes and alternates was because this Barazzi font here is looking a bit jank with the outline. If we go here in my dev tools and bump that up, you can see that I have the before, which I'm assigning pony outline. So if we go ahead and just toggle off its color, you'll see what I'm talking about. And then the after, of course, is getting the pony extrude, which is this bit here. And then the normal H1 itself, which is the sandwich in the middle. Anyways, as I was saying, the reason I even looked into this was because of the swirls and the loops, and it doesn't really look like what was advertised here, especially on this layering one. I didn't understand. I still kind of don't understand, because if you look at this outline, you've got these loops that just aren't a part of the final product. So I'm assuming the outline needs to be behind the script, maybe. I think that would work. Because then it might hide those unseemly loops. Let's see if we can just bump back. Oh, yep, that's it. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to go to negative. Whoa, I don't want the OTF file. Thank you, darling. I'm going to put, where was it? Outline. There it is. I'm going to put the outline at a -1 so that it is behind the primary text, and then the extrude or the after element is even further behind. See, we're still having, my other problem is these E's. I use a lot of E's with heroes. You just can't, like, what is that? Nobody knows. Okay. First of all, let's go ahead, change this to hot pink and change this to dark pink. Check it out. I didn't like it. Think. Actually, if I inspect the H1, if we got rid of the outline, would anybody notice? See, that's just changing it to, I'm trying to think of a way of display none. Oh, it completely popped out. That's fine. Two of Heroes. It was kind of, I'm going to refresh. And then I'm going to, instead of display none, because I need to toggle back and forth to see if it's even there, I'm going to change its color to this match. It's definitely adding something. I was wondering if it was being completely covered up by the script, but apparently it's not. Content of empty. Thanks, Turtle. Better way of toggling it on and off. Oh, that's much better. Okay, so it does help. It does add something. If I want a different color, because the extrude is already filling in those gaps for the most part, unless, of course, we're talking about the glyphs and alternates, which I have freaking no idea what that's going to look like. Something that's a little overwhelming is when I'm looking at font book and I'm hovering over each one of these. It's like glyph 236 U plus E002. And I'm like, this sounds painful. Because I'm thinking, that's the Unicode code for that specific thing in this font. And I'm thinking, I guess I could set content to that Unicode thing and then it would render. Or perhaps I could set, let's see, where was it? No, not this one. Not that one, darlings. Or I could set perhaps one of these funky like SSO3 or Salt on the font settings. This is where it gets a bit overwhelming. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tackle it one header at a time and see if we can improve it without losing our minds. First things first, we need to decide on colors because this is not cutting it. I had some I think I put it in inspiration. Forgive me for all of my bookmarks of death. This one. Okay, I did. So retro ponies on the Hasbro.com. This is obviously where I got the inspiration for the header. And then I'm hoping to take more inspiration for, I stole their retro ponies, but I'm thinking, I need to figure out a good, hey, Anacodes. Welcome. Today we're talking about open type fonts and adjusting them with CSS, which I didn't even know was a thing. And I'm also drinking a protein shake because it is my lunchtime. Okay. So yes, I need to pick out some colors to make this not look so jank. Yes, let's see. I think we should do maybe a purple and a blue. Okay, let me see. Let's pull up our VS Code, go to our colors. So some of these colors were already picked from that Hasbro site. So if I went with the blue as the extrude color, let's see. I need a purple faux show. So let's pick colors. And I want to pick a purple that's kind of close-ish to one of the blues. That's way too late. Yeah, these are all too light. So I'm opening up my Color Snapper app. I'm going to grab this purple one because it's my favorite. And then I'm just going to make it darker and re-grab it. Go over to my colors.scss file. And we're going to call this one purple. I don't have a lighter or darker version of it. Go back over to styles and let's replace the hot pink with our purple variable we just created. So, wait, did you say modify fonts with CSS? I didn't know that was possible. I know, right? So I recently learned, and I will plop this in the chat. I recently learned through looking at this Brazzi font that Turtle Guy found on Creative Market, and I was using basically to replace my Pony font with. I found this screenshot, going through this Brazzi font that's just displaying how to use it and all of its features. I found this one that says open type features, and it looks like, r.salt or p.swash. It looks like they were using classes, and I'd never heard of salt or swash before, or even SSO1, SSO3. So Googling for it, I finally ran across this Adobe Docs on OpenType and altering it in your CSS, which I'm just like mind blown. So sorry, I have a fluff. A fluff on me. So the first thing I tried was salt, right? And so it looks like you can say font feature settings to salt. And of course, if the font supports that, it will radically change your font. And so right now, if we go back over to the browser, to Tour of Heroes, and I'll select this H1. And if we go ahead and say font, feature settings, salt, I think I need the WebKit. WebKit, font, feature, unless I'm spelling part of it wrong. Or maybe salt needs to be a string. I think salt needs to be a string. String. There it goes. So I'll toggle it on and off, but as you can see, like the T is changing, the R, the H, it's getting pretty lit up in here with this font. And, when I open Fontbook, usually I see the sample fonts like this. And so I didn't even know that apparently behind the scenes, if you go to view and say repertoire, there's a ton of different glyphs and ligatures and like different versions of the characters with swashes that you can use. And so, it goes way beyond salt. So kind of overwhelming. I just discovered this. And so I'm like, okay, what do I do with it? But even like the stylistic sets of the SS01 or the SSO3 that we were seeing earlier on here. So like that T is set to SSO3. So I guess it's third stylistic setting. Oh, it kind of gives me a stomach ache. It's just a little overwhelming because it sounds like there's a lot that you can do with fonts. And you can be really specific about grabbing this letter in this header and making it look this way. So my big thing right now is I am creating these headers that have before and after pseudo elements. And if I go back to my code, so I'm saying anything with data dash text, which I gave my headers, go ahead and style that with the font family of Pony, which is what I named this Brazzi font. And then give the befores Pony outline and give the afters Pony extrude. And so if we go back to our website, I can show you that I'm giving the before and the after element here different fonts. And actually, I can set their content to nothing so that you can see what I'm doing. So there's the outline part of this. And if I say content, nothing, here is the extrude part. So I'm just using pseudo elements to create these extra pieces. So let's refresh. So the first thing I wanted to do was figure out my colors because I want it to be as legible as possible while still looking pony-licious. The next thing was going to be, I guess, start down the road of customizing the feature settings of these fonts and making them look legit. So anyways, that is where we're at, Anna. I hope your Wednesday's been marvelous and magnificent. I don't know why I'm on only M words at this moment. Woof. Okay, so the purple and blue, they're okay. Really looks like purple and purple. Did I really name that blue? It's not getting the blue. What? Hang on. So I'm giving it. What is happening? Oh, dark pink is still there. Whoops. This is what I get for overwriting and never cleaning it up. So I'm going to go ahead and delete my redundant lines real quick. So Anna said, cool. So the idea is that you can use the same font, but you can customize it for different elements like titles and headings. Yes. Yeah. And even going further than that, customizing, like this header says Tour of Heroes, whereas this header, it says Bratzi. It won't forever say Bratzi, but basically customizing the font for what the exact text says, because different ligatures exist. And so if I go back over here and turn on font feature settings of Salt, you can see that Bratzi gets crazy. It gets salty, which I found out when I was reading the docs that SALT is an abbreviation for stylistic alternative or alternate. I made it SALT. So yeah. And for this example on Bratzi, I really like the B, the salty B. I like the salty B, but I don't like the rest of it. Not a fan. So I kind of want to select the first character. We're just testing it out here because I don't know how. Oh, that's not the HTML I wanted. I'm going to go ahead and close out some of these. It wasn't dashboard. I think it was it dashboard? Yes, it was dashboard. Okay, so instead of Bratzi, this should actually say, I think Top Heroes is what it says in the OG app. I want this to match. This is the data dash text that is being assigned to both the before and after elements. Okay, so, oh wait, let's go back. Top Heroes. It's very salty. Okay, again, I'm totally fine with the salty T and the salty H. But the rest of it, I don't like that R. I'm not a huge fan of. So let's go back over and see if I can. Okay, span. I'm going to wrap the T in a span from Top Heroes. Give that a class of salt. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to remove the saltiness from data dash text and then say, I think anything with a class of salt, right? Anything with a class of salt, we want these features. Feature settings. Oh no. Okay. All right. 1 second. So for some reason, wrapping it in a span Yikers. Okay, wrapping it in a span is changing its hierarchy, I think is what's happening. And therefore, it's not getting the parent styles. So I need to say not only data text, but data text any element inside of a data text element, aka our span that we just created. There we go. Okay, the next problem that I see is that our before and after elements aren't salty, just our normal element. That's why if I actually change this from FB to like black so that you can see what's going on, there should be, this big swash here, which is the salty part. But the behind here, the outline and the extrude are not getting the salty part, which makes sense. So what I need to do is go inside of the salt class, and we're going to do some SCSS fun here. We're going to say anything, the ampersand is saying take the parent selector and put it here. So I'm saying salt and the before and the after. We're just going to move all of these nested inside of here. I think that should. I love it when it like totally doesn't. You're like, right. Okay, what did I do wrong? Let's see. The before and after of the salty thing. I'm confused. Oh, okay. So I'm selecting the before and after of the salt element, where I need to be selecting the before and after of the data text element. So I think I need a sibling selector. The sibling of salt, I think that's what we need. Maybe this might break terribly. It didn't break, but it didn't work. H2 before. The CSS is entirely different level. I'm still a CSS newbie. I'm sorry, Anna. I don't want it to be overwhelming. I honestly don't use pseudo elements a ton, which is why I'm not making it look easy. Because I rarely use them. I just thought it would be the cleanest way to do this. Okay, I need to figure out my selector tree. I'm doing this wrong. Okay, so span, salt, open up that. I don't think I'm going to be able to select it like this. So basically, it's a cute bee emoji. Okay. I'm going to go back to my markup just to plot it out. Salty span around the T, but also the before and after. the before and after of the original H2. I don't know how to do this. I guess I would have to put, like, I think I'd have to put salt on the H2 and another selector on this one. So like first letter maybe, and then give this one a okay. So I think this is going to work, but it might not be I want to salt the first letter. So now inside of data text, if I say and salty, yeah, I'm going to go back and name it salty because that makes me happier than salt. Okay, so if it's salty, go ahead and where's this right here? Yeah, Turtle said there's no current way to select the parent of something in CSS. You can't move up the tree, which is what I always try to do, and I always get myself in trouble. And I don't know why I can't just be like, I'll learn the lesson one time and then I've learned it. I always try to go up the tree. You can't go up. You can only go down. So we're putting salty on the outermost parent. And I want to say first letter. This is not going to be fun. How do I select the first letter of a pseudo element that I don't have a way of talking to because I haven't? Essentially, if we go back over to the HTML, I created this H2. Let's do that and make the font a bit bigger. Oh, it's too big. Okay, so, and go to a new line and go to a new line. No, we want that all on one line. Just put that there. So I created this H2 as an alternative to doing something like getting rid of data text and having really having 3 spans. That's not at all how you spell span. 2 top heroes. Bump. So this is another way of doing it. And then saying class equals OG script, original, crispy, class equals outline, and then class equals extrude, or the background text, salty letters. Yeah. Extrude. And so in this way, this would give me 3 different spans of text to select, layer, and give different fonts and colors to, which is what I'm doing with this upper bit here using data dash text. And I'm saying, hey, anything with data dash text, go ahead and grab the before and after and give outline and extrude to, right? So I wonder if there's a way to grab the first letter of the before, or if I need to do it, if I need to not be so fancy with it. Let's see. Grab first letter of string CSS. Oh, first letter. Really? Yeah. Can I put a pseudo selector on a pseudo selector? First letter of my before. We're about to find out. Okay. This is a little bit too big. The font size is like too big. I can't even see where I'm at. Turtle Guy says he doesn't see why not. Okay. So we're saying headers with a class of salty give their first letter salt. But then we also, 1 second, there's a fluff on my keyboard. Sorry, doggy. My dog is very timid and very shy, and anytime there's a loud noise, it kind of freaks him out. Okay. So we're also going to say anything with salty. Actually, we don't need the first letter anymore, or the span class. We should just be able to use the pseudo selector first letter. So let's test that first, and then I'm going to comment out this because I don't think we'll need it. So let's get rid of this span here and test out the pseudo selector of first letter, see if it works, and if it does, then we'll keep going. And we will live long and prosper. I think it's working. And there it is. It is convenient, Anna. Seriously, it's hella convenient. Okay, so this is going to make my life so much easier. Okay, so instead of salty, we should name this salty first letter. No, we should name it salty space first letter. Give it 2 classes. And then if I want to do like salty last letter, salty blah, 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 we can reuse the salt. So what was I saying? Okay, so inside of salty, we'll say anything with first letter. Okay, salty first letter. Sarah. Is this what I want to do? This seems too much. I'm going to get it showing for now. Undo, undo, undo. And then I'm going to figure out how to make it modular because I'm getting lost in my own thoughts of how I want to do this. So, salty and colon first letter. Gosh, Turtle, I don't know what you're eating, but it smells amazing. I'm so hungry. Doing intermittent fasting right now. It's working. I'm losing weight. But also, if people eat really smelly and delicious food in your office while you're nomming on a protein shake. Okay. Back to the H2. So we have salty first letter. I'm not doing that quite yet. We're just saying salty top heroes. We don't need those fonts showing. Now I need to go ahead and call out and first letter and before first letter and after. Woo, you need colons. I know this looks ridiculous. Could say salty first letter and instead of styling salty, style class of salty. Turtle, why you always gotta go? He's so extra. This man is just so extra. Who do you think gave me the idea for data text? Turtle. Okay, but like legit, I think this is gonna work. Oh my god, it didn't work at all. What did I do wrong? Wait, no. Yeah, it's not at all working. Why? Okay, hang on. If data text. Okay, first of all, I don't think I need this anymore because I'm not doing a span. If data text is salty, did I change my... No, it still says salty. What the dickens? Let's make sure there's... I don't understand. We should at least be getting that salty first letter. What am I doing wrong? You've gone too far. You cannot have this many pseudo selectors. Okay, let's just get rid of the extra bit. See if this is still working. It 100% is working. Dickens. You know what that means? It means we might not be able to. What do I call this? Nesting pseudo. Yeah, SAS pseudo selector nesting. The SAS ampersand. What? That's not helping me. Oh, I don't know. Feel free to shout it out in the chat if you know how to nest selectors like I'm doing. So that's what we're doing. We're saying, hey, I want the after element of the primary parent selector. Yeah, I'm just going to jump right over the problem and see if there is a solution. Looking for it. Dear Lord. That has nothing to do with what we need. First letter. Okay. Selecting the first letter of a before pseudo selector. I don't know. This is cascading. Bum, 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 bum. That one looks promising. None of this is helping me. Okay, I'm going to try to move. Whoops. What if we did? Oh God, I don't know if I should do this. I don't know. I've never tried to go this far with pseudo elements. That? Would that work? Well, thanks, Turtle. Thanks. Turtle doesn't know the answer, which means we're in pretty deep. He doesn't know we have gone where no woman has gone before. Or man. Probably a robot. I bet a robot has been here. Okay. Yikers. Okay, that didn't work. even the slightest bit. So I'm gonna undo, 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 undo. Okay. This is what should work. We're gonna copy this line, comment it out, and say this should work, question mark. And now we're going to go ahead and rethink our career choices. JK. I just have no idea why this isn't working. Okay. Let me think of another way of doing this. It 100% is possible to do without pseudo selectors. So that's what I was talking about before in our dashboard component, where I had this. And I'm gonna comment out our elegant way with our data text. So if we did something like this with original, outline, and extrude, then we should be able to essentially select the first element of these. Yep. Okay, so let's do it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make my text a little bit smaller, and I'm gonna go ahead and comment out really all of this with data text. Set the before and after to display block. It's gonna make me angry if that works, because like all the other styles are working on our before and after. Before we rewrite, Anna, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger again, and before and after display. Save it. Negative Ghost Rider. But we've actually, so weird. I've lost. All saltiness, which means it's unhappy. It's as if you're not allowed to do a pseudo element on a pseudo element. From W3C, the first letter selector can only be used with block level elements. It's a really, really good try. The display block should be working on the other one as well, but I don't know. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I really love this solution, and I think half our stream is already gone. I love this solution with data text. So what I think I'm going to do for stuff like this, it's beneficial to do it in a clunky but simpler way. And then once you have it working, refactor to more elegant, or is a waste of time. No, Anna, you're totally right. Especially for people like me, I have a hard time thinking 3 steps ahead. So if I can just get a prototype or anything working the way that it should and then clean up. So that's what we're going to do. But I love this solution with data dash text. I think it's because this way, right, in the markup where you have to say it 3 different times, it's clunky, like you said. But we're going to do both. And I'm going to go ahead just above our data text stuff. Yes. I need a class to specify fancy font though, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So let's just do fancy font. And we're going to give it this base, and we're going to say, instead of the pseudo selector, we're going to say, I'm trying to remember what I called it. I think outline and extrude. Yes. I've got these default styles that both the before and after needed, because we need to position. We need to position them so that they're on top of each other. So go back up, give all of them position absolute top, left, right of 0, text line inherit, so that if it's centered like our top header is, it'll center the pseudo inner elements as well, which I actually wonder if I need to do. No, I think that's okay. I think that's fine. Oh, we don't need to do the content adder. This is where we were actually plugging in the string of data text. So you don't need to do that anymore. Guess we could still do that without hold. So we can still do content adder and not have but then you just have empty spans. I don't know if that's any better. I'm going to try it, and you can tell me if you think it's better or worse. It's probably worse. Let's do this, and I don't know if we actually. Okay, I'm going to try this. Okay, go back over here. Looking good. So I think we have feature parity-ish. Instead of the pseudo elements, though, we're going to go ahead. Oh. Okay, I think this is being applied. I'm going to go ahead and comment out all of this so that, because now I'm using data text, so it's getting all of these styles. And go down here and say, instead of before and after, we're going to say class of outline, class of extrude. Okay, what are we missing? I'm going to move this over a little bit. I'm just going to get rid of this for now. Put this back here, put this back here. Make an original again. Why don't you put it on another line? Original. Back here. Put them side by side. I actually want the dashboard component over here. Okay, so fancy font, class of fancy font. We should be getting a color of hot pink one. I don't believe we are. Or the font family. Let's go back, refresh, and inspect our header. It's what? Okay. Yes, I did say color black, but why is the font family not happening? Oh, because it says font family pony. I feel like something else in my CSS is breaking it. Really odd. Let's go ahead and comment out all of this and see if we can just get, all we need is this font family to show up. Why aren't you showing up? The fonts file is being imported at the very top. I mean, so the fun thing about this is if we go back and uncomment our data text stuff, it works. So this up here is with data text with pseudo elements, and this down here is just with my currently not working version of fancy font. Which we're not actually even getting. So I know that the font is loading, needless to say, and the import is working because it's working on the other one. But okay, where is heroes? And hang on, maybe there's like, where is heroes? 100 pixels. Let's make this. Not actually changing it. Font family is being overwritten. So it is. Well, it seems like an obvious one. But by who? Everything. Which is funny because the way I learned it, the everything selector was 0 points in CSS for the cascade, meaning anything should be able to override it, meaning this class of fancy font for a measly 10 points should still be able to override the everything. I don't know why. H1. Okay, at least we're getting all of our text here. H1 fancy font. Don't judge me. Important. I just want to see if it works. No, it doesn't. What the dickens? Oh, it's an H2. Lols. Maybe when you're being more specific, you could use the right selector. H2, fancy font. Oh, it's the thing inside of it. That's the name of the font, right? That is the name of the font. It's the name of the that I gave it inside of our font file. No, I think it's because it's the span inside of the H2, not the H2 itself. Question mark? Yeah, that was our problem. Okay. I don't know if this is going to work now because I need the everything selector. This is like nightmarish without the without pseudo elements. This is now becoming a headache. Okay. Okay. I can do this. I can figure this out, she said with confidence. H2 fancy font. So I need to be more specific. We should have already been specific enough for you. H2, everything inside of the H2. I don't know how to do this fancy nested style, so I'm just going to take it out. I know, judge me if you will, but this is what we're doing right now. Instead of ampersands, we're going to go ahead and say outline inside of fancy font, extrude inside of fancy font. Outline and extrude inside of fancy font. That's exactly what we were trying to achieve before in our nested syntax. Okay, the next thing is, let's go ahead and check out. Let's check out our, okay, original, outline. Where is outline? Supposedly it has this color, and supposedly its position, I probably should move this up so that we can all see. Oh, Turtle Guy redeemed hydrate. Turtle Guy, I need a drink. I'm out of beverage. Okay. Supposedly it's being positioned. Supposedly it has this purple font color, but we don't see it. So I'm wondering if the Z index is jacked. Where are you? Oh, fancy font. Oh, fancy font, where are you? Your classes on line 37 doesn't seem to be intended correctly. 37. Oh, indented. I read intended. It doesn't matter, but it does matter. It doesn't matter. Matters for professional sanity and legibility, but whenever CSS is SAS or CSS is ran through and it's being compiled, all of the extra white space is gotten rid of. So spacing, like the space between this bracket and the class itself, or space between selectors, like the space between this chunk and this chunk, is all personal preference and just for developer legibility. So yeah, that wouldn't break. Okay. Oh, I'm still doing content adder, which I don't need to do. Where are you? So I'm going to go and I'm going to grab our outline element, and I'm going to change its color to black, and I'm going to change. Hey, thanks, Turtle. You know, I've already had a gallon of water today. A gallon. Okay, what was I doing? We made the color black. Let's do something fun. Let's get rid of the original. So I deleted the original. And now we don't have, and I'm actually going to go back into our file, and just so that we can tell the difference between our old and new stuff, I'm going to change this to, why is this so hard? Okay. And now we should see none of that. Well, okay. So once I delete that element again, if I go in and delete original, we completely lose these two. Like, I don't know why. Display block, height of 400 pixels, overflow, hidden, none of that's working. These are all things I try. You think overflow hidden is kind of weird to display something, but sometimes, yes, Turtle Guy is my husband and partner in crime. He also knows way more about the CSS than I do. And we both work remotely together. Okay, what was I doing? Figuring out, oh, right. So sometimes overflow hidden can an element that's like, if it's apparent and it's overflowing, can sometimes collapse in on itself. And so you're not seeing any of its content, much less the overflowing content. So sometimes it's helpful to say overflow hidden to debug, and it should basically stop that element from collapsing. It's not working in this case, but it is part of the things that I like to try when I'm trying to figure out where. Let's play. So instead of where's Waldo, where's the element? All right, I'm going to put this up here. What's going on with you? Is it my positioning? It is my positioning. I'm not saying position relative. So maybe it's positioning relative to something that I'm not planning on it to. No, I am. But I'm saying it to everything. Oh, Dickens. This is a hot mess. Okay. We are just like hardcore embracing the let's do this the ugly way. I need everything inside of this to have the color of hot pink. This. I don't need everything to have these two. I need just fancy font. Itself? Yeah. Or I could put it on original. Oh, thank God. That worked. Okay. We are back where we were 30 minutes ago. We've just worked it out differently. Okay, so I'm going to collapse that. I'm going to put it over on the left side of my screen. And we are going to, instead of selecting pseudo elements, we're going to say, if you're salty, make the original first letter salty. Here it is. Here's the salty goodness. Go back up, put it here. And we should also be able to say instead of original, outline and extrude. This should work. Oh, I actually don't know if W has a salty, which is funny. We know that T does, though. So we're going to go back and change this back to top heroes. I bet you we're not being specific enough because we don't have that swash. It's not even applying it at all. Okay, we're going to figure this out. We're totally going to figure this out. Salty. So if you're salty and you have the original first letter, salty, original. I guess I could say as well, H2 fancy font. I mean, this shouldn't matter. Oh my gosh, let me get rid of the other two. Thank God it didn't work. I was going to cry. Okay, H2, the class of fancy font and a class of salty, which is all of these things and way more specific than we need to be. And then we're saying class of original. Yeah, that looks right. Okay, let's take the first letter pseudo selector off and see if that works. There it goes. Thank heavens. Okay. Well, they are spans, and Turtle did tell us that tidbit. about display block. So let's add in first letter and change it to change these spans to display block. Oh, actually, I'm positioning them, so I don't know if I can do that. Hang on. Let me brain this out. Okay, there it is at the very bottom. Which I need to. Sorry, the screen sharing is causing me to not be able to show the very bottom. So I'm going to move it up a little bit. There we go. Font feature settings, salt. Okay, you're right, Turtle. Turtle said I'm setting the first letter to display block, not the entire span, which it needs to be the entire span. Will this work? Thank God. Thanks, Turtle. I was like absolutely losing it over here. Okay, so we set our spans, aka everything inside of Fancy Font, to display block, which is needed in order to use the first letter Pseudo Selector on. So now I should be able, do I still have that in my, I don't have that in my paste bar. Now I should be able to do this with outline and extrude, save it. Hey! 12 hours later. Oh my gosh. Or switch them to divs because same thing. I know. I was thinking about that, but I wasn't even sure that was the problem. Oh my goodness. Well, moral of the story. I know, right? Thanks, Anna. I'm so excited. We have the salty first letter happening, which makes me so happy. I need to go. This does not make me happy. I'm going to dig into the data text and see if we can get that working in a little bit. But I want to clean this up because I don't want to say any H2 with Fancy Font. That's driving me batty. I really want to be able to just say, I think IDs are more specific. And this class is obviously not specific enough. So I'm going to say an ID of Fancy Font. And let's go back over to here. And instead of H2 of Fancy Font, H2 of the class of Fancy Font, let's just try to select anything with an ID of Fancy Font. That would be like amazing if that worked, because I don't want to specify H2 each time. And go and get rid of these H2s as well. Should have tested it before. Getting rid of absolutely everything. Yay! Woo! Okay, so what that does for us is that gives us the ability to, if I make this full screen, it gives us the ability to use this Fancy Font setup with things that aren't H2s. And you might be like, what are you talking about? In our app component, we have another header, the Tour of Heroes header, and that is an H1 that I need this exact same thing to happen to. So I'm going to get rid of this one, and I'm going to do what we did before and create 3 copies of it with the ID of, whoa, Fancy Font. And spans, but Turtle's right. I need to just use divs. And move this up there. Yes. Go. Clean that up. Good to go. Happy. Name this outline and name this extrude. We don't need data text here anymore. I think that's gonna work. Oh, but we also wanted to do salty on this, I think. Try it without salty, first of all. First off, this one. Whoops. This one. Perfect. So this is our H1. Looks like it's working. This is our H2. They're working. They're working. Okay. So, oh, wait. Yeah. So our H2 has the salty T. Our H1 does not have the salty T. But if we go into here and add class of salty, keep selecting the wrong Chrome window. There it goes. Okay. Salty, we need to have like salty first letter because I want to do this to multiple letters. Back to our styles. I'm going to try this again. Instead of saying this so many times over and over again, I'm going to say it like this. Then I'm going to get rid of everything but that. So fancy font, salty, the class of first letter. And then what am I missing? Shibish, shibish. Ish not happy. 125. What? Oh, I'm missing a closing one. This has to be nested. Pip. Hey, I think. Wait, no. Boo. And because I did two things at once, I have no idea which one broke it. Okay, we gave it a class of first letter. Let's just delete the class of, actually that doesn't matter. Just delete the extra selector here. See if that fixes it. Fixes it. Okay, cool. So, oh, it's because it's not an inner element. It's the same element. So there doesn't need to be a space. It just needs to be. Yeah, that should totally work. Perfect. Whew. Let's do one with last letter. I'm assuming that's a thing. It's not a thing. Oh, okay. My last child is, but that's not what I want. Nope. None of this. I don't want any of that. All available pseudo selectors CSS. It's fun. And of course, I always choose CSS tricks if I can help it. Link, visited, hover, active, focus. Oh, so these aren't disable, require first child, last child, nth child. First letter, a first line. Oh, that's interesting. Lang. I guess first letter is a thing because sometimes in paragraphs the first letter is stylized. I guess so. Selects the first letter of text, typically use drop caps. Yeah. But there's also with a lot of fonts like this Bratzy one, there's these swishes like on Amsterdam with the M that go, and so I was thinking it could be fun to select the last letter. That is not. Gosh, not the document you are on. Quick note. You can chain pseudostructures just like you chain classes and IDs. This is particularly useful while you're looking at first letter and first line. Yeah, so here here they're doing first child, first letter to make that drop cap, which is what Anna was just talking about. It wasn't working with our before. Oh, maybe it's because we were trying to layer pseudo elements with pseudo selectors. Maybe that's not possible. Oh, I didn't know contains was deprecated. As far as I know, this is gone. Okay. Well, pickles on a stick. Because I think for anything else, we would need to let's go over to our CSS and make a sorry, I was trying to think of a way to clean this up even further, but I feel like it would make our trail pretty ugly, so I'm just going to leave it how it is right now. I think I'm going to get rid of first letter on that, and I'm going to put it here on this ampersand. It's the exact same thing, should be. Yep. It's the exact same thing, but it's going to give me the ability to say, okay, so inside of salty, maybe I don't want the first letter. Maybe I just want salty. So, salt me. So now if we go to, again, this is like not clean at all, but I wonder if there's even because we're ending with an S on both of these, but let's just do it with the H because I know there's a special thing for the H. So on the H, we're going to surround it by a div. Oh, I meant to change the others to divs. Don't let me forget that. A div with a class of salt me. And we're going to do this for all of the H's. I think this needs to be a span, right? Because I need it in line. But in order to use, I'm not using the pseudo selector on it, so I don't need it to be display block, and I actually don't want it display block because I need it to be in line with the other text. I'm going to copy this, plop it here, save it. I think our H should be, it's not. Span of salt me. What did I do wrong? Class of salt me. I don't know. Let's it's working. Oh, it's because I did it down here. Interesting. Okay. There's our span. Oh, I'm still saying display block. That's totally my bad. I didn't clean up my styles from before. So we are going to go back and find, I put display block on everything inside of fancy font. We don't want to do that anymore. And we need to actually go back to our, yes, our dashboard component and change these outer spans. That's going to be fun. Just going to manually select them. We need to change these outer spans to be divs because we're actually using the pseudo selector on them. Okay, that looks good except for my H is messing up on outline and extrude. I don't know if I'm actually calling that out. I'm not. I'm just saying anything with salt me on it. So did not think customizing font would be this painful. But I've never done this before. And anytime you do something brand new in CSS, it can be a bit hard to grasp. And we're doing it I'm quite sure, the improper, ugly way. I will have this cleaned up by next week to show you. But let's figure out why our H is seemingly invisible. Fancy font everything. Okay, so because we gave these spans, yep. Because I gave the H's spans in order to select them, to give them salt me, they are now listening to fancy font everything, which I'm starting to think this everything selector has like a bajillion points instead of 0 points, which is what I was told. So we're going to go and say, div. Divs inside of fancy font. Span, why are you being like this? Okay, so I'm going to just be more specific. My fancy font outline. I'm going to say my fancy font outline and anything inside of my fancy font outline, my fancy font extrude, and anything inside of my fancy font extrude. We are almost there. Hot pink div. Oh my gosh. Do I really need to say anything inside of the div? Oh, Dickens. I don't like this part of the cascade. There it goes. Believe me. Lots of cleanup is needed here. But we have, kind of looks baseball-y, actually. We have the swish on the T and the swish on the H. Whereas we don't have it on the R because we're not salting the whole thing, which would have been much easier. We don't have the swish on this H, Tour of Heroes, but we can go ahead and do this span of salt me on any letter. Boop, boop. And it should change it, modify it for us. Beautiful. Something that really drives me crazy before we sign off for this Wednesday is the E's. I think the E's are incredibly hard to read. I just, even with, I mean, if the outline was on top, so if I bumped up this Z index, it's way uglier, but you can see a little bit more defined the E, but there's no way I can leave it like that. And so I need to I need to see, go to the fonts, if there's an alternative lowercase e for me to use. Look at that one. That one is legit. But I think it would only work if it was the last letter. Yeah, I'm gonna keep hunting. I think that's a C. Yeah, but that's an E. Again, I don't know if that would work next to the S. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. Because I don't know. I know that because of these docs, I know that we have stylistic sets. So I'm gonna go ahead and select the E's with let's do it in this top one first. So I'm just gonna select these 6 E's. I just pasted in a span, but they have capital H's instead, so I need to replace it with that. Okay, but instead of salt me, what I need it to be, so this first H I want to salt. This second one, the E, I'm actually just going to select all salt me's and change them back. SS01, sure. It's not very semantic. Alternate style. And now we need to go and make sure that all of the H's have salt me instead of alternate style. So this one. Salt me. And this one. Woo. Okay. Good. Looking good. Let's go and double check that. Yes, everything looks fine here, but we haven't actually selected anything with alternate style. So we're going to go ahead and go to our style sheet. And where the heck are we? Inside of salty. We're going to say if I have the class of alternate style, this is where we're going to use something totally brand new that I've never used before. I'm actually going to refresh this page because the link is broken. Yeah, it's not. I don't know why it's not working. Okay, I'm just going to scroll down. I mean, I'm grateful for these docs. I really am. Oh my gosh, look at there's salt too. Oh my gosh. Hang on, we got to try it real quick. Just really fast. I don't even know if salt 2 exists for RH. Did it? work? Yeah, it says Salt 2. Did it I don't know if that's any different. Let me I don't think it is. Interesting. Okay. So there's no Salt 2 available for those letters. Let's go ahead and give an alternate style. If I could ever find it. I think it's still font feature settings, I think. And you just set it to SS maybe? Oh, right here. Here we go. Yeah, font feature settings SSO1, a string of SSO1. So we're going to just take these 3 lines and put them here and say SSO1 for set style. What is it? Stylistic sets 01. And apparently there can be up to 20. And I have no idea if there's even a stylistic set. Yeah. I think there totally is. If we oh, there it is. And if I see how the E is getting its upkick, which is not what we want. Okay, if the S didn't exist, that broke everything everywhere. If it was just top hero instead of top heroes, then that stylistic set, what the dickens? Oh, we are not working with this one. I'm just going to go ahead and close it. We're working with this one. Tour of heroes. So if it was tour of hero instead, singular, then this little E on the end would definitely, he's fine. I mean, it's not that much more legible, which was our total goal of this, but it'd be fine to leave that stylistic setting. I'm wondering, can I change this? Does it have any more? I'm going to just try here and see. I think that's all that we're going to get for a lowercase e. Yes. So SSO2 does not look any different. I like that it doesn't just totally break the font, that if it doesn't have the extra stylistic set, that it just sets it to the normal E. It makes me very happy. I'm going to leave this alternate style because, oh, I only changed it on one. Change it on all 3 just to prove that it doesn't exist. I'm going to leave this alternate style because I'm going to play around with it with some of the other letters and see if I can get a more legible setup and then also clean this up a bit. So next Wednesday, even if I do a CSS challenge, I'll start off the show by quickly reviewing what I ended up with because like we said, this is the ugly and quick version of just getting it working, proof of concept, but I definitely can't handle this needs to be cleaned up, and I'm 100% positive it can be. I just need to figure out how. So this has been a ton of fun. I had no idea there were so many options with OpenType. This is not to its legible final state, but I do love that we're getting this kind of layered retro font effect without an image, without a PNG, right? This is selectable text, which is useful for many, many reasons. SEO and accessibility, chiefly, what come to mind. But yes, I think this is where we're going to stop because the next thing I want to dig into is going to take longer than 10, 15 minutes. So I want to thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you have a marvelous Wednesday wherever you're at in the world, and I'll see you next time on UI Wednesdays.